The war room fell silent as Commander Taman entered. His crimson scales gleamed under the bright lights of the Vral battleship. 4 powerful arms crossed over his chest as he studied the holographic display floating in the center of the room. 12 star systems glowed in blue, each one marking a territory conquered by the Vral Dominion. For 300 years his people had been the greatest hunters in the known galaxy. Taman had killed creatures that would make other species run in terror. He had faced the acid-spitting serpents of Kryn Prime. He had tracked the shadow stalkers of Velon, beasts that could turn invisible and strike without warning. He had even survived an encounter with a thunder beast, a creature as tall as a building with armor thick enough to deflect plasma fire. Every scar on his body told a story of victory. Every hunt ended with him standing over his prey. Today he would brief his team on their next mission. It would be special, he thought. Perhaps the most important hunt of their careers. The door slid open and his team entered one by one. Hyejin came first, her movements smooth and silent. She was the best tracker in the fleet, able to read broken twigs and disturbed dirt like others read books. Her green scales marked her as coming from the northern clans, and her sharp eyes missed nothing. Junyo followed her, young and eager. His orange scales were still bright, not yet dulled by years of hunting. He carried his plasma rifle with pride, always ready to prove his worth. Mina entered next, her scales a deep purple that marked her as a scientist first and a hunter second. She had studied biology on 17 different worlds. She knew more about alien life forms than anyone else on the ship. Some hunters thought she was too cautious, too slow to act. Taman knew better. Her knowledge had saved his life more than once. Last came Daehyun, his gray scales showing his age. The combat medic moved with a slight limp from an old wound. He had seen 50 years of hunting missions. His eyes held a weariness that came from watching too many young hunters die from overconfidence. He nodded to Taman but said nothing. "We have a new target," Taman announced, activating the hologram. The display shifted to show a blue and green planet spinning slowly in space. "This is Planet 47C in Sector 9. The locals call it Earth." Junho leaned forward with interest. Hyejin studied the terrain maps appearing around the planet. Mina accessed the biological data on her tablet. Daehyun simply watched, arms crossed. "Initial scans show a remarkable diversity of predator species," Taman continued. "The planet has creatures called tigers, powerful hunters with sharp claws and teeth. There are bears, massive beasts with tremendous strength. In the waters there are crocodiles with jaws that can crush bone. Yet none of these creatures dominate the planet." "Then what does?" Hyejin asked, her voice soft but curious. Taman smiled, showing his sharp teeth. "A species that calls themselves humans, bipedal. No natural weapons. No claws, no venom, no armor. They run slowly compared to their planet's predators. They are physically weak, yet somehow they stand at the top of their world's food chain." Junho laughed. "Weak creatures ruling a planet? How is that possible?" Mina's fingers moved across her tablet, pulling up data. "They use tools," she said quietly. "Sophisticated tools. They have technology. Primitive technology," Taman corrected. "They have barely left their own planet. They use chemical propulsion for their spacecraft. They fight with kinetic weapons that throw metal projectiles. Compared to our plasma weapons and energy shields, they might as well be throwing rocks." "Tools mean intelligence," Mina insisted, looking up from her tablet. "Intelligence means danger." Taman waved a dismissive hand. "Many species use tools. The Kryn built cities. The shadow stalkers set traps. We hunted them all. Intelligence without physical power is nothing against a trained Vral hunter." Daehyun finally spoke, his voice rough. "What is the mission objective?" "We will capture specimens," Taman explained. "We will study how they fight. We will document their weaknesses. Then we will return and present our findings to the High Council. This will prove that the Vral Dominion is ready to expand into new sectors. Earth will be the first of many new hunting grounds." The hologram zoomed in, showing a forested region with scattered human settlements. "We will land here in a remote area. Low population density. We will observe first, then strike. Quick and clean." Hyejin studied the terrain. "The forests are thick. Good cover for us. Many places to set ambush points." Junho checked his weapon. "How many humans should we expect?" "Scans show a small settlement nearby. Perhaps 30 to 40 individuals. We will target isolated ones first." Taman's eyes gleamed. "They will never know we were there until it is too late." Mina looked troubled. "Commander, I recommend more observation time." We do not know enough about their behavioral patterns, their social structures, We know enough. Taman cut her off. They are prey. We are hunters. The rest is just details. The ship entered Earth's atmosphere 3 days later, its cloaking systems making it invisible to human detection. The team stood in the cargo bay, checking their equipment one final time. Each wore light armor designed for speed and stealth. Each carried weapons that could drop a thunder beast with a single shot. The landing was smooth. The cargo door opened, revealing a forest of tall trees. The air smelled of pine and earth. Birds sang in the canopy above. To Taman, it smelled like victory. They moved into the forest in standard formation. Hyejin led, reading the ground and the vegetation. Taman followed in the center. Junho and Daehyun covered the flanks. Mina brought up the rear, her scanner sweeping for life signs. After 2 hours of silent movement, Hyejin raised a fist. The team stopped. She pointed ahead through the trees. In a clearing stood several structures made of wood and stone. Smoke rose from a chimney. A vehicle sat nearby, primitive but functional. Through her scanner, Mina detected 5 human life signs. 2 adults, 3 juveniles. A family unit, she whispered. Standard social grouping for this species. Taman watched through his scope. A human male emerged from one of the structures carrying an armload of wood. He was tall for his species, but still smaller than the shortest Vral. He wore simple clothing and had no visible weapons. The human began splitting the wood with a tool, his back to the forest. Perfect, Taman whispered. Isolated, distracted. We move in, take him quietly, return to the ship. The rest of the settlement will not even know he is gone until we are off planet. Wait, Mina urged. We should observe longer. Learn their patterns. We did not come here to watch, Junho said eagerly. We came to hunt. Daehyun checked his medical kit without comment. He had learned long ago that young hunters rarely listened to caution. Taman made his decision. Hyejin, Junho circle around from the east. Daehyun, Mina, come with me from the west. We surround him, close in on my signal. Use stun weapons only. We want him alive. The team split and began their approach. Taman felt the familiar rush of adrenaline. This was what he lived for. The stalk. The moment before the strike. The perfect execution of a hunt. They moved through the trees like shadows. The human continued his work completely unaware. 50 meters, 40, 30. Taman raised his hand, ready to give the signal. The human suddenly stopped working. He turned his head slightly as if listening. Then he did something unexpected. He shouted a single word, loud and clear, "Contact!" Everything happened at once. The forest erupted with movement. Taman had only a second to process what was happening before the first gunshot cracked through the air. The human male had dropped his wood-cutting tool and was already moving toward cover. But he was not running away. He was running toward the nearest building while shouting more words the translator could not process fast enough. More humans appeared from positions Taman had not seen. They came from behind trees, from inside buildings, from beneath camouflaged positions, at least 8 of them, all carrying weapons. These were not the simple tools he had expected. These were military-grade firearms. Ambush. Hyejin's voice crackled over the communicator. They were waiting for us. Another gunshot. Then another. The humans were not shooting wildly. Each shot was aimed, controlled. Junho screamed, a sound of pain that made Taman's blood run cold. I am hit, my arm! Taman dove behind a thick tree as bullets tore through the bark where his head had been a moment before. His training kicked in. Fall back. Return to the ship now. The team scattered into the forest. Taman ran, his powerful legs carrying him quickly over the rough ground. Behind him, he could hear the humans shouting to each other, coordinating, organizing. They moved like soldiers, not frightened civilians. He found Junho crouched behind a fallen log, clutching his upper right arm. Blue blood streamed between his fingers. The young hunter's face showed shock and pain. Daehyun was already there, pulling medical supplies from his kit. How bad? Taman demanded. Daehyun's expression was grim. The projectile shattered the bone, damaged major blood vessels. I can stabilize him, but he needs surgery. We need to move. Hyejin appeared from the shadows, breathing hard. The humans are pursuing. I can hear their vehicles. Mina arrived last, her scanner held in trembling hands. Commander, I am picking up more human signatures. At least 20 moving in from the north. They have surrounded us on 3 sides. Taman's mind raced. This was wrong. Everything was wrong. The humans should have been panicked, disorganized. Instead, they had been ready, waiting. How did they know we were coming? Unknown, Mina's voice shook. But they did know. This was a trap. A new sound reached them. The deep rumble of engines. Taman risked a glance over the log and saw vehicles moving between the trees. Large trucks with multiple humans in the back, all armed. And above, a flying machine with rotating blades hovered, searchlights cutting through the forest canopy. Helicopter. Mina read from her scanner. Armed reconnaissance. They are hunting us. The words hit Taman like a physical blow. Hunting us. He was the hunter. He had always been the hunter. But now he was running, bleeding, afraid. The feeling was alien and horrible. Daehyun finished wrapping Junho's arm. He can move, but not fast. The bleeding is slowed, but not stopped. Then we split up, Taman decided. Daehyun, take Junho and head southeast. Find somewhere defensible and hide. The rest of us will draw the humans away. We meet at the ship in 3 days. Commander. Mina started to protest. 3 days, Taman snapped. That is an order. Now move. The group separated. Daehyun supported Junho as they limped away through the undergrowth. Taman watched them go, then turned to Hyejin and Mina. We head west. Make noise. Leave a trail. Keep them following us. They ran. The forest blurred around them. Branches whipped at Taman's face. His lungs burned. Behind them, the sound of pursuit never stopped. The helicopter's spotlight swept back and forth. Voices called out in the human language. Dogs barked. After an hour of running, they stopped in a rocky area to catch their breath. Hyejin examined their surroundings, her tracker instincts sharp despite her exhaustion. There, she pointed to a narrow gap between 2 large boulders. We can hide there, rest. They squeezed into the tight space. In the darkness, Taman could hear his own hearts pounding, both of them racing faster than he had ever felt. Mina activated her tablet, the dim light reflecting off her worried face. I have been reviewing the ship's database. Commander, there is something you need to know about humans. What? Taman growled. They are persistence hunters. It is a rare strategy in nature. Most predators are sprint hunters. They rely on speed and power for a quick kill. Humans are different. They do not need to be faster than their prey. They just need to keep following. For hours, for days, they simply do not stop until their target collapses from exhaustion. Hyejin's eyes widened. You mean they will keep chasing us? Yes, and they can communicate across distances, coordinate over large areas. One group can drive us toward another group. They can take shifts, staying fresh while we tire. Taman felt a chill run down his spine. How long can they pursue? Mina's voice was barely a whisper. According to historical records from Earth, humans once hunted animals by following them for days without rest. The prey would run, stop to rest, and find the humans still coming. Eventually, the prey would be too exhausted to run anymore. That is insane, Hyejin breathed. No predator does that. Humans do, Mina said. They also have something else. Technology for communication, those vehicles for covering distance quickly, aerial surveillance, and they work together in large groups. We have 5 hunters. They have hundreds of humans in this region, all connected by radio communication. Taman wanted to deny it, but he could not. Everything Mina said made terrible sense. Then what do? We need to reach the ship. It is our only chance. A sound made them all freeze. The crunch of boots on stone. Human voices, very close. A flashlight beam swept across the gap in the rocks, missing them by centimeters. They went this way. Blood trail leads east. Keep moving. Stay in radio contact. Don't let them rest. The voices faded. The hunters waited in silence for long minutes before daring to move again. When they finally emerged, the sun was setting. They had been running for 6 hours. The ship is 40 kilometers north, Hyejin whispered. 2 days on foot if we move carefully. 3 days if we have to keep avoiding humans, Mina added. Taman made a decision. We split again. Hyejin, you take Mina and head straight for the ship. Use stealth. I will create a distraction. Lead the main pursuit force away from you. Commander, no, Hyejin protested. That is an order. I am the fastest. I can lose them in the mountains to the west, then circle back. You need to reach that ship and prepare it for immediate departure. Mina grabbed his arm with surprising strength. Taman, listen to me. You cannot outrun them. They will follow you until you collapse. That is what they do. Then I will not let them catch me, Taman said with more confidence than he felt. I am Vral. I have hunted the deadliest creatures in the galaxy. A few primitive humans will not stop me. He pushed past them before they could argue further. As he ran toward the mountains, he tried to ignore the fear growing in his chest. He tried not to think about the stories Mina had shared. He tried to be the confident commander his team needed, but deep inside, in a place he did not want to acknowledge, Taman wondered if he had made the biggest mistake of his life. He had come to Earth expecting easy prey. Instead, he found something that made his hands shake and his breath come in gasps. He found hunters who did not give up. The helicopter's searchlight found him 20 minutes later. Taman ran faster, his powerful legs pushing him to speeds no human could match. But the helicopter did not chase him. It just followed, staying high above, its light marking his position for the ground forces below. He ran through the night. The helicopter never left. When the sun rose, it was replaced by another one. The humans took shifts while he ran on, growing more tired with each kilometer. And somewhere in the back of his mind, a terrible truth began to form. He was no longer the hunter. Junho knew he was dying. The pain in his arm had spread through his whole body. Each breath felt like fire in his lungs. Daehyun had given him 3 injections to slow the bleeding and fight infection, but the combat medic's supplies were running low. They had been hiding in an abandoned human structure for 12 hours now. The building was old, made of crumbling stone and rotting wood. Daehyun had chosen it because it had thick walls and only 2 entrances, easy to defend. But defense meant nothing if they could not escape. Through a gap in the wall, Junho could see human vehicles surrounding the building. At least 6 trucks formed a perimeter 50 meters away. Soldiers moved between them, weapons ready. A loudspeaker crackled to life, speaking in the human language. Even without translation, the tone was clear. Surrender. We are trapped, Junho whispered, his voice weak. Daehyun did not answer. The old medic sat with his back against the wall, plasma rifle across his lap, staring at nothing. His gray scales looked dull in the dim light filtering through holes in the roof. Will it hurt? Junho asked. When they kill us? Daehyun finally looked at him. I will not let you feel pain. I promise. I wanted to be a great hunter like Commander Taman, Junho said, tears forming in his eyes. I wanted to have stories to tell, adventures, glory. I know. I should not have laughed at the humans. I should have listened to Mina. We all should have, Daehyun agreed quietly. A new sound made them both tense. A hissing noise filled the building. White gas began pouring through the broken windows and gaps in the walls. It spread quickly, filling the room like fog. Gas attack! Daehyun pulled a breathing filter from his medical kit and pressed it over Junho's face. But there was only one. Daehyun had given his second filter to Hyejin days ago when she had a breathing infection. Junho tried to push the filter toward Daehyun. The old medic pushed it back. Keep it. You are young. You have more life to live. The gas made Junho's eyes water. Even with the filter, some of it got through. His vision blurred. He could hear Daehyun coughing, struggling to breathe. The medic stood up, swaying. What are you doing? Junho gasped. Giving you a chance. Daehyun checked his plasma rifle one last time. When I go out that door, they will focus on me. You run out the back. Maybe you make it. No, do not. But Daehyun was already moving. The old warrior kicked open the front door and charged into the daylight. Plasma rifle firing. Junho heard human voices shouting. Heard the crack of their weapons. Heard Daehyun's roar of defiance turn into a cry of pain. Junho stumbled toward the back door, coughing, crying, bleeding. He burst out into the sunlight and ran. His legs felt like water. His vision swam. Behind him, the gunfire stopped. He made it 10 meters before his wounded arm struck a tree branch. The pain was so intense he collapsed.
He tried to get up.
Could not. His body would not obey anymore. Human soldiers surrounded him within seconds. They shouted at him in their language. Junho tried to raise his hands to show he surrendered. He wanted to tell them he meant no harm now. That he just wanted to go home. That he was sorry. The young soldier who found him was barely older than Junho himself. The human's eyes were wide with fear and adrenaline. His finger trembled on his weapon's trigger. Junho made one last effort to raise his hands higher. To show he was no threat, the young human's fear won. The rifle fired, Junho felt no pain. Daehyun had kept his promise. Everything just went dark. Far to the north, Mina and Hyejin moved through the forest like ghosts. The tracker led them along paths with thick cover, avoiding open areas where the human helicopters could spot them. They had been walking for 18 hours with only brief stops to rest. Mina's legs ached. Her people were built for short bursts of speed, not endless walking. But Hyejin never stopped, never complained. The tracker read the ground ahead, choosing each step carefully, always alert for human patrols. How much further? Mina whispered. 10 kilometers, maybe less. Hyejin paused, her hand raised in warning. Wait! They crouched behind a fallen tree. Through the vegetation ahead, Mina could see movement. Human soldiers, at least 8 of them, moving in a line through the forest. They carried detection equipment and weapons. Their formation was professional, practiced. They are searching the area systematically, Hyejin breathed. We need to move east, away from them. But moving east meant moving toward the mountains. Rough terrain. Mina nodded anyway. They had no choice, the mountain slopes were steep and rocky. Mina slipped twice, scraping her hands on the sharp stones. Hyejin moved more easily, her hunter training serving her well. They climbed for hours, putting distance between themselves and the search teams below. As the sun reached its highest point, they stopped in a narrow valley between 2 ridges. Mina collapsed against a rock, breathing hard. I need to rest. Just for a moment. Hyejin scanned the ridges above them with worried eyes. This is not a good position. We are exposed from above. Just 10 minutes, please. The tracker nodded reluctantly and settled down beside her. For a few minutes, there was only the sound of wind whistling between the rocks and their own breathing. Do you think the others made it? Mina asked quietly. Hyejin did not answer right away. Daehyun is experienced? If anyone could keep Junho alive, he could. That is not an answer. No, it is not. Mina pulled out her tablet, checking their position. The ship was close now. 9 kilometers to the north. They could reach it by morning if they traveled through the night. We should keep moving. The darkness will help hide us. A sound from above made them both freeze, a sharp crack like a branch breaking. Hyejin's head snapped up, her eyes scanning the ridge to the west. Something is up there. Human? I do not know. The angle is wrong, for the shot came from the opposite ridge. The bullet struck Hyejin in the center of her chest. The impact threw her backward. She hit the ground hard, blue blood spreading across her scales. No. Mina scrambled to her friend's side. More shots rang out, striking the rocks around her. Human sharpshooters on both ridges. They had walked into a kill zone. Hyejin coughed, blood bubbling from her mouth. Her eyes found Mina's face. Run, she gasped. Do not let them. Her eyes closed. Her breathing stopped. Mina ran. Bullets struck the ground at her feet. One grazed her shoulder, sending a line of fire across her scales. She dove into a narrow crack between 2 boulders, squeezing into a space barely wide enough for her body. She could hear the humans above, calling to each other. Boots scraped on stone. They were coming down to confirm their kill. Mina pushed deeper into the crack. It angled downward, getting tighter. Her shoulders scraped against the rock walls. But she kept going, driven by pure terror. The crack opened into a tiny cave barely large enough to curl up in. She pulled her knees to her chest and tried to make herself as small as possible. Voices echoed from above. Flashlight beams swept across the cave entrance, but the angle was wrong. They could not see her in the depths. After what felt like hours, the voices faded. The lights went away. Mina sat in the darkness and cried silently for Hyejin, for Junho, for Daehyun, for all of them who had been so proud and foolish. She stayed in that cave for 2 full days. She had no food, no water. Her shoulder throbbed where the bullet had grazed her. She could hear human patrols passing by outside, sometimes close enough to touch if she reached out. On the 3rd day, the searches moved away. Mina emerged slowly, carefully. The forest was quiet. Hyejin's body was gone. The humans had taken it. Mina oriented herself by the stars and began walking north. Every step was agony. Her body demanded rest, water, food. But the memory of her friend dying kept her moving. She saw things on that journey that confused her. Human search teams that found an injured deer and stopped to bandage its wounds before continuing their search. A group of human children playing in a stream, laughing and splashing each other with no weapons in sight. An old human couple sitting on their porch watching the sunset together. These humans killed her friends without mercy, but they also showed kindness to animals. They protected their young. They cared for their elderly. They were not simple killing machines. They were complex, thinking beings who made choices, and they had chosen to hunt the hunters. On the 4th day, Mina finally saw it. The ship, still cloaked but visible to her eyes, sitting in a clearing. But it was not alone. Human vehicles surrounded it. Soldiers patrolled the perimeter. They had found it. They were waiting. Mina crouched in the bushes, exhausted and heartbroken. She could not reach the ship alone, could not fight past all those humans. She needed help. She needed Taman. Taman had been running for 3 days. His powerful legs, which could carry him at speeds no human could match, now felt like they were made of stone. His lungs burned with every breath. His vision blurred at the edges. Still, the humans followed. They never seemed to tire. When one group stopped to rest, another took their place. Vehicles leapfrogged ahead to set up new positions. The helicopter tracked him from above, its searchlight marking him for the ground teams. At night, they used thermal imaging. When he found water to drink, they were there within the hour, forcing him to move again. Taman had long since stopped thinking about glory or pride. Now he thought only of survival. 1 more kilometer, 1 more hour. Just keep moving. He reached the ocean on the 4th morning. The water stretched endlessly before him, gray and cold under cloudy skies. Behind him, he could hear the vehicles getting closer. He had nowhere left to run. For a moment, Taman considered swimming. But he knew it was pointless. The humans had boats, aircraft. They would track him in the water just as they had on land. There was no escape. He turned to face his pursuers, raising his plasma rifle. If this was the end, he would face it like a Vral warrior. He would take as many of them as he could before they brought him down. The vehicles stopped 50 meters away. Doors opened and soldiers emerged, taking cover behind their trucks. More vehicles arrived, then more. Taman counted at least 40 humans, all armed, all watching him. Even some civilians stood at the back of the group, watching this strange alien creature they had hunted across their countryside. Taman tried to roar his defiance, but his throat was too dry. The sound came out as a weak croak. He raised his weapon, sighted on the nearest human soldier. His legs gave out. Taman collapsed to his knees, the rifle falling from his shaking hands. His body had simply reached its limit. 3 days without sleep. 4 days with barely any food or water. His physiology, built for sprint hunting, could not sustain this kind of prolonged stress. He waited for the killing shot. It did not come. Instead, human soldiers approached cautiously. They kicked his weapon away, pulled his arms behind his back, secured them with restraints. They were not rough, but they were careful. Someone spoke into a radio. More vehicles arrived, including one that looked like a medical transport. A needle pricked his arm. Whatever they injected made the world go soft and distant. Taman's last thought before unconsciousness took him was a bitter one. He had hunted across 12 star systems and never been captured. It took one planet of weak, slow humans to defeat him. When Taman woke, he was in a white room. Soft lights illuminated walls made of some smooth material. He lay on a bed that adjusted to his body shape. His restraints were gone, but a force field shimmered across the open doorway. He could see humans in the corridor beyond, watching screens that showed his vital signs. His body felt better. The exhaustion had faded. Someone had treated his wounds and given him fluids. He could think clearly for the first time in days. A human entered the room. She was smaller than most, with dark hair and eyes that studied him with interest rather than fear. She wore a white coat and carried a tablet. When she spoke, a translator device on her collar converted her words into the Vral language. "Hello, my name is Sujin. I am a xenobiologist. How are you feeling?" Taman stared at her. After a long moment, he found his voice. "Why am I alive?" "Because we prefer to capture rather than kill when possible." She sat in a chair near his bed, completely calm despite being in a room with a creature that could have torn her apart. "We know you are intelligent. We decoded your language from your ship's computer system. We have many questions. Where's my team?" Sujin's expression became sad. "2 of them are dead. Your young weapons specialist and the medic attacked our forces. They gave us no choice. The tracker was killed resisting capture in the mountains. But your scientist, Mina, is alive. She is in another room, being treated for dehydration and a minor injury." Taman felt something break inside him. Hunyo, who had laughed and dreamed of glory. Daehyun, who had seen too much but kept serving. Hyejin, who could track a shadow across bare rock. All dead because he had been too arrogant to see the danger. "You were hunting us," Sujin said. "It was not a question. We found your observation posts. Your scanning equipment, why?" Taman said nothing. Sujin pulled up images on her tablet. "Your species is called the Vral. You control 12 star systems. You consider yourselves apex predators. For 300 years, you have traveled to different worlds, studying the creatures at the top of each food chain, hunting them to prove your superiority. She looked up at him. Is that accurate? Still, Taemin remained silent. We are not interested in revenge, Sujin continued, but we need to understand your culture. Are more of your people coming? Is this a military invasion? A scientific expedition? We need to know what Earth is facing. You defeated us, Taemin finally said, his voice hollow. What more do you need to understand? Everything, Sujin leaned forward. Commander Taemin, you came here believing humans were weak prey. But you were wrong. I want to show you why. Over the following days, Sujin brought him images, videos, documents. She showed him human history. The wars fought over resources and beliefs. The diseases conquered through cooperation and science. The extinctions prevented through conservation efforts. She showed him humans risking their lives to save strangers from floods and fires. She showed him humans working together to build cities, cure illnesses, explore space. We are not the strongest species on Earth, Sujin explained. Bears are stronger. Tigers are better hunters. Eagles have keener eyes. But we survived because we adapted. We worked together. Every creature on our planet tried to kill us for millions of years, and we learned from each one. She showed him footage of a human marathon runner, moving for hours without stopping. We evolved to be persistence hunters. We can track prey for days because we cool our bodies through sweating, something most mammals cannot do efficiently. We can run when other creatures must stop to cool down. She showed him a human engineer designing a bridge. We create tools to overcome our physical weaknesses. Every problem becomes an opportunity to innovate. She showed him a team of human soldiers training. We organize into groups with specialized roles. We communicate complex strategies across distances. We learn from our mistakes and adapt our tactics. You are not apex predators, Sujin said quietly. You never were. You were just fortunate enough to never encounter a species that combined intelligence, endurance, cooperation, and determination. Until now. Taemin absorbed it all in silence. Part of him wanted to deny it, to argue that the Vral were still superior. But he could not. He had felt the truth in his bones during those 3 days of running. The humans had not beaten him with strength or speed. They had beaten him with patience and strategy. They had simply refused to give up. After 2 weeks, Sujin made an offer. We will release you and Mina. You can return to your people in your ship. But you must tell them about Earth honestly. Tell them what happened here. Tell them that humanity does not want war. But we will not be hunted. Why release us? Taemin asked. We came to capture your people, to study you like animals. Because keeping you prisoner serves no purpose, Sujin replied. We want your civilization to know about us, to understand what we are. If the Vral come in peace, you will find humanity welcoming. If you come to hunt... She did not finish the sentence, but her meaning was clear. The next day, they brought Mina to his room. She looked thin and haunted. When she saw him, she started crying. They held each other. 2 survivors of a hunt that had become a nightmare. I am sorry, Taemin told her. You were right. About everything. I should have listened. We all should have been more careful, Mina whispered. But we thought we were the hunters. The human military escorted them to their ship 3 days later. Soldiers had studied the vessel carefully, but damaged nothing important. They had copied data from the computers, learned about Vral technology and culture, but they returned everything to working order. Sujin met them at the cargo ramp. She handed Mina a storage device. This contains records of human history and capability. Show it to your leaders. Help them understand what they face if they come here with hostile intent. Mina took the device with both hands. Thank you for sparing our lives. Thank you for being willing to learn, Sujin replied. She looked at Taemin. Commander, I have one question before you leave. Why did your people hunt other species? Was it for food? For resources? Taemin considered the question. For pride, he finally admitted. To prove we were the strongest, the most feared, the best hunters in the galaxy. And now? Now I know that being the best hunter means nothing if you hunt the wrong prey. The ship lifted off smoothly. Earth grew smaller below them as they climbed toward space. Taemin sat in the commander's chair, looking at the empty seats where his team should have been. 3 chairs that would remain empty forever. The journey home took 6 months. During that time, Mina spent hours reviewing the human records. She compiled reports, analyzed data, compared human capabilities to known species. Taman forced himself to watch the footage of the hunt, seeing their mistakes with clear eyes. They had underestimated human intelligence. They had dismissed human tool use as a weakness, rather than recognizing it as an adaptation. They had failed to account for human persistence, communication, and cooperation. Most of all, they had assumed that physical strength determined the winner of any conflict. "We were not just wrong," Mina said one evening as they shared a meal. "We were dangerously ignorant. We judged them by our standards instead of trying to understand them on their own terms." "The High Council will not want to hear this," Taman said. "For 300 years we have built our identity on being apex predators. I am about to tell them that we are not. Will they believe us? They will have no choice. We have the evidence, and we have 3 empty chairs to remind them of the cost of arrogance." When they finally entered Viral space, traffic control was surprised to hear from them. The mission had been scheduled to last 2 months. They had been gone for 8. 2 rescue missions had been planned and canceled, assuming the team was dead. The High Council convened immediately upon their arrival. 15 members sat in the Great Chamber, their scales displaying every color of the Vral species. At the center sat High Commander Yunho, his black scales marking him as the eldest and most experienced hunter in the Dominion. Taman stood before them, Mina at his side, and delivered his report. He left nothing out. The failed ambush, the 3 days of being hunted, the capture, every humiliating detail. The council chamber was silent when he finished. Then chaos erupted. Council members argued, shouted, accused Taman of cowardice and lies. How could a team of elite hunters be defeated by weak bipeds? Impossible, unbelievable. High Commander Yunho raised one hand. The chamber fell silent. "Play the recordings." Mina activated the storage device. Footage filled the holographic displays. Human soldiers coordinating their response. The helicopter pursuit. The patient tracking. The final capture. Then the historical records. Human persistence hunting. Tool creation, warfare, cooperation. The council watched in silence. When the recordings ended, Yunho spoke. "Opinion scientist Mina?" Mina stepped forward. "High Commander, humans represent a new category of apex species. They did not evolve overwhelming physical power. Instead, they evolved overwhelming adaptability. They can modify their environment and themselves to overcome any challenge. They can cooperate in groups numbering in the millions. They can share knowledge across generations through written language and technology." She pulled up a comparison chart. Every trait that makes a species dominant in its environment, humans possess in moderate form. But they can apply all these traits simultaneously and improve them through learning. They are not the strongest, but they are strong enough. Not the fastest, but fast enough. Not the smartest individually, but collectively they exceed any single mind. "Are they a threat to the Dominion?" another council member asked. "Yes," Mina said without hesitation. "If we provoke them, they will respond. Their technology is advancing rapidly. In 100 years, they may surpass us. In 1,000 years, they will certainly surpass us. But they do not seem interested in conquest. They seem interested in protecting themselves." Yunho turned to Taman. "Recommendation, Commander?" Taman stood straight despite his shame. "Declare Earth a forbidden zone. No Vral ship approaches human space. No contact until they reach out to us first. And we prepare for the day when humans enter the galactic community. Because they will. It is only a matter of time." "That is a coward's response," snarled a young council member. "We should return with a fleet. Destroy them before they become a threat." "That is exactly the thinking that killed my team," Taman replied coldly. "Humans have billions of individuals on one planet. They have nuclear weapons capable of destroying entire cities. They have survived ice ages, plagues, and extinction events. And most importantly, they never give up. Ever. If you attack them, they will not surrender. They will not flee. They will fight until either they win, or every single one of them is dead, and I believe they would win." The debate continued for hours. Finally, Yunho called for a vote. The decision was not unanimous, but it was clear. Earth would be designated a Class 1 forbidden zone. No Viral vessel would approach the system. Any ship that violated this order would be fired upon by their own fleet. As the council dispersed, Yunho approached Taman privately. "You were one of our best commanders. You led successful hunts on 17 worlds. Yet one planet of weak bipeds defeated you completely. How do you reconcile this?" Taman met the High Commander's eyes. I learned that there are different kinds of strength. Physical power is only one. Humans taught me that adaptation, persistence, and cooperation can overcome any amount of muscle and claw. They taught me humility. Will you hunt again? No. Taman's voice was firm. I am done hunting. I will teach instead. I will make sure young hunters understand that the universe is more complex than we believed. That intelligence comes in many forms. That pride kills. Yunho nodded slowly. Then you have learned the most important lesson of all. Mina's report was distributed throughout the Viral scientific community. It was titled Why Humans Won, an analysis of survival traits in apex species. The conclusion shocked many and changed the way Viral scientists studied alien life. The report spread beyond Viral, space through trade and communication networks. Other species read it with interest. Some dismissed it as propaganda. Others took it seriously and adjusted their own assessments of human capability. On Earth, Sujin continued her work. She knew the Vral would not be the last aliens to discover humanity. Some would come in peace. Others would come with hostile intent. But Earth now had time to prepare. The galaxy had been warned, years passed. Taman retired from active service and became an instructor at the Vral Military Academy. His first lecture each term was always the same, the story of Earth. He told it honestly, holding nothing back. Many students did not believe him at first, but when they saw the recordings, saw the empty chairs, they understood. The most dangerous prey, Taman would tell them, is the one that refuses to accept it as prey. Humans do not see themselves as part of a food chain. They see themselves as survivors, adapters, builders. They turn their weaknesses into strengths through millions of years of evolution. They faced every predator their planet could create and they won, not through claws or venom, but through their minds. He would pause, looking at each young face. We've all pride ourselves on being apex hunters. We have hunted across 12 star systems for 300 years, but we were only the apex because we never encountered humans. They are not apex predators. They are something more dangerous. They are apex survivors. Mina published dozens more papers on human biology and culture. She became the Dominion's leading expert on Earth species. When young Vral asked her why humans were so successful, she would show them a simple image. A human runner covered in sweat, still moving forward after hours of effort. This is their secret, she would explain. They do not need to be faster than you. They do not need to be stronger. They just need to keep going when you cannot. And they always keep going. In the decades that followed, other species began to encounter human ships as they spread into the galaxy. Some conflicts occurred, but word had spread. The story of the Vral hunters who went to Earth and never returned became a cautionary tale told across multiple civilizations. Humans were the species that hunted the hunters. The weak bipeds who defeated one of the galaxy's most feared predators. The creatures who turned every disadvantage into an advantage through stubbornness, intelligence, and cooperation. Space stations posted warnings. Approach Earth peacefully or not at all. Military planners included human capabilities in their threat assessments. Traders learned that humans bargained fiercely but fairly. Scientists studied human technology with respect and caution.